Hello, Grade 3 students. Thanks for your faithfulness and keeping at the task. Very much appreciated, and I'm sure that you will enjoy the fruits of your labor, if not already, very soon, as we are now entering the phase in the second year of Greek study to be able to unlock not only some literal translation of the New Testament, but um, some of the more finer points that are important in translating and interpreting. Much of what you will do in the coming chapters begins the process of interpretation, and not just what we've mainly done up until now, the process of just translating sort of from one language to the other, from Greek to English in particular. The videos that have been posted for you have been posted, recorded, two of them by Professor Campbell and one by myself, to help you understand the initial forms of the present and the strong aorist participle. In your textbook, and Dr. McIver, I'm holding here actually the 6th edition. Most of you have the 5th edition in your hands and will continue to do so. There's really no reason to change to the 6th edition. The only thing you're really missing is an appendix at the back of the book, which if I haven't already sent to you, I will do so in the near future. Most of you will not find that appendix very useful until such time as you are financially able to purchase and use the Logos software. For some of you, it may even remain out of reach. Quite frankly, it is out of reach for many of us, even in the United States. It is a terribly expensive program. It is a very good one, but by virtue of the fact that they generally batch volumes, reference works together in one price, many of which are not really that useful for us, it becomes expensive. And also they don't give any discounts to folks like yourself in developing countries. And that's a very bad thing. Some of you may have Bible Works. It is now out of business, unfortunately, but you may be able to obtain a copy of Bible Works somehow. I know there are people working on trying to get Bible Works available, at least to folks overseas. So stay tuned, and we'll see what kind of software develops for us in the future. In the meantime, we need to learn more before we can really make good use of software. And that in particular means learning chapter 20 extremely well. I can't underline more than I already have the importance of understanding the Greek participle. It is really a key of interpretation of most verses in the Greek New Testament. And first of all, we have to learn the forms. Now, I have grouped in this first lesson, class number 5, homework number 5, the present participle active in chapter 20.1.1. The page numbers there in this edition are a little different. I think it may be page 181, but I'm not sure. I don't have a copy of the 5th edition here. I've grouped that one together with the strong aorist participle at the bottom of the next page, section 20.1.3. And we'll consider in our next lesson, lesson number 6, the weak aorist or the first aorist participle in section 20.1.2. I did this because, number one, you need to review and strengthen your knowledge of the strong aorist participle, which means going back to that wonderful page. Is it 104 or 114? Now I'm getting confused myself. Let me check. No, it's 104. Well, actually, in this one, it's page 106, but it's page 104 in your textbook. And the strong aorists, and you may have learned one or two more in the meantime, but I think these are the primary ones. Apethanon for apophenisko, I died, apethanon. Ebalon, the second aorist of balo. So instead of I throw, I threw. As you recall from chapter 12.1, these are often used and irregular aorist verbs. The reason, though, that I group them together is, I think, probably obvious to you on the next page, 184 in your textbook, and that is that the endings of the strong aorist participle are the same as the present participle. Labon looks the same as labanon, and both would be translated right now for our purposes, receiving or taking. Now we'll have to go much beyond that simple gerund, English gerund, ing form in the future. But for right now, we'll simply translate ing, receiving or taking. And it will be, for the time being, the same principle in translation that we had with the infinitive. We can't really distinguish between the present and the aorist tense with the participle unless we have the context to do so. Very often, the context of the aorist participle will mean past tense, but without that context, without it saying, for example, and Jesus went, and then we know it's in the past, we won't know how to translate the participle. So for whether it's present or aorist for right now, we'll just translate it with an ing form. And you'll remember that I suggested that we have three main uses. There'll be sub-uses, several of them, but the first one was the noun form, and then the adjectival form, the running man, the man who is running, running, a participle is an adjective that describes the man, a noun. And then the adverbial form, running quickly, which is not a participle, but I can't think of one. Quite honestly, most of them are, for example, are time participles. For example, when he was running, as running, he saw while he was running, he saw while he was walking, he stopped. While he was walking will be an adverbial participle, and usually just one word, participle form, but we will have to translate it with a phrase when we put it into English. So now you understand perhaps why we're just using the ing form right now to translate the forms we are learning. The forms if you look on page 184 for the strong aorist, are just the same as the present again, but notice the difference is in the stem. The strong aorist stem is lab, so the participle is labon, or labon, sorry. Labon, the aorist participle, lambanon. Taking and receiving is the present participle. For right now, both will translate both the same, taking or receiving. But we just have to remember, this is a present participle, and labon is an aorist participle, a strong aorist participle. So just keep those in mind, and it will probably help you if you read sections 5 and 6 about where he talks about how to translate the participle. And that will be all you need. Your homework for number 5 is primarily parsing. And I wanted to mention this as well. If you look on page 189, in the, let's see, no, sorry, 187, exercise 20.1. Most of your homework exercises in homework number 5 are taken from this exercise on this page and the next page, 190 especially. And for the most part, you're asked to parse the following. And at the bottom of page 187, you have this little review of parsing. Remember that when we parse a verb, we describe all of its individual parts. We describe the tense, the mood, the voice, the person, if it has. Participles don't have person, by the way. That's the one thing they don't have. But they do have case. So you'll find some verb forms in homework number 5 that are indicative verbs with person, first, second, and third person. I, you, he, she, it. But participles won't have that. Participles will have case endings. So they could be nominative and genitive, or because they can modify adjectives, for example. Most of the participles you will meet in the New Testament will be in the nominative case, but many will also be in the genitive case and in the other cases. So it's important that you know all of the forms. So there's simply a lot to memorize in the coming weeks. So put your mind to it, get these forms down. There's probably no more important chapter in all of our studies than chapter 20 in our textbook. You really have to get these forms down in your mind, memorized, recognize them, and learn to translate them as we go along. So for this week, again, the present and the strong aorist participle forms only. And I picked out forms in the exercises. I excluded deliberately weak aorist forms. Those we will get in homework number 6. So use the table that's been posted for you in the homework. If you have to write on your own paper and you can't print out the PDF of those pages and do your homework on those pages, which would be the most ideal, please create a table. Just use a ruler and create a table with the lines, because that is by far the easiest way for us to mark your homework, to see whether it's correct or not. If you don't need a field, and there will be fields you don't need. For example, if the verb is a participle, you won't need the person field because participles don't have person. They're not I, we, he, or she, or it, or we, or they. They are just ing forms. But if they are indicative forms or subjunctive forms, they will have person. And then they won't have case endings. So they won't have nominative, for example, and so on. So there are two fields blocked out deliberately on those. I've made it easy for you actually in the homework by blocking out fields that you won't need. So you can see immediately, this can't be a participle, or, oh, this must be a participle. Maybe all of this doesn't quite make sense to you yet, but I think it will. If you try your homework and you get stuck, by all means, contact either Mrs. Zanaria or especially Mr. Masood, our tutors in both courses. Ms. Zanaria is primarily there for the ladies in the Greek 1 class. But if you can't get hold of Mr. Masood, as you know, is going through a difficult time now with the loss of his father, and we pray for him regularly, then you could contact Ms. Zanaria in the case that you really aren't understanding. And either of them will be able to explain to you what a participle is and how it is used. It is very important, in spite of our present situation, that you grasp this material. I wish you all the best. I think I will stop here. And I just wanted to encourage you along the way. Please do your homework on time. We will meet again, Lord willing, next week on the 30th of November, the last day of this month, for our next class. And we will continue as the Lord provides, even though the government in the Punjab and elsewhere may be shutting down universities. As far as class learning is concerned, we will continue with our virtual learning in the coming weeks. And Lord willing, you will become much better interpreters of God's word in the future. I will look forward to working with you. And after I can clean up some messes here online with my equipment, I will be back with you very soon. God bless you, and God watch over you.